Good evening, good morning, good afternoon to everyone who is watching this video. Today we have Carol Ben-Davies from College Bound Determination, and she is here with us to talk about a very interesting topic, a topic that we haven't discussed before. It is preparing students well in advance before their transition to college life in the US. And we really feel it's a very important topic to discuss on, and we had to really talk about it because preparing the students before their college life, talking about the things that they will have to face in the college is really important, and it should not be considered as it shouldn't be given low weightage, or it shouldn't be just
An
handled with very less
afterthought.
importance. Yes. So let me introduce Carol to you all. She's a founder and CEO of College Bound Determination. And College Bound Determination partners with parents and organizations and helps students discover and develop their talents and strengths so their well being is enhanced in college and throughout life. So, to know more about you, it's better, Carol, if you can introduce to us.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here with you all. My name is Carol Ben-Davies, and I guide parents and to strengthen their child for the realities of college. We offer triage for struggling college students, and we also offer early grade strengths assessments and awareness to build a child's strategic advantage in college and life. So I was on staff at various universities, starting with my alma mater, the University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill. I also worked at Northwestern, the University of Mary Washington, and Purdue University. And so I served college students and their parents who were creating college breakthroughs or having college breakdowns. And the reality is the breakdowns are increasing, with 40% dropping out or quitting, and their college hopes are ruined and their lives along with it. And students struggle and suffer. And I don't think that that is what any of us want, right? And so my business, College Bound Determination, Reality Preparation Life Advantage, is really here to help students to really achieve the goals that they have set for themselves, to help students understand that getting into college is one thing, and staying and graduating and achieving the goals that they've established for themselves is another. And so I guide students through what to anticipate, because we focus a lot on how to get in and how to pay for it. But then when students get on campus, it's a lot of adjustment issues. And I'm sure we're going to talk about those as we progress in the conversation.
Thank you, Carol. So now it's time for us to move on to the main session. Now we understood what college bound determination is, and we understood what inspired you to start the venture. Okay. Now let's move on to the first question. That is your offerings at the college bound determination, and what exactly you thought of, or what exactly inspired or motivated you to begin college bound determination, this venture organization.
Well, thank you. Yes. So I started College Bound Determination when I was working in a role at Purdue University. I was serving as assistant dean of students, and I would listen to students come in with any academic, social, emotional, financial challenges that they were having. And it honestly was a shock to me, because I have a 20+ year experience in higher education, doing admissions and multicultural affairs and fraternity and sorority life and leadership development, and so many different areas, where I think when students think about college, that's what they're thinking about. They're thinking about all the ways that they can get engaged and involved, and, of course, how to get in, how to take full advantage of the resources that are available at the institution. So it was really shocking to me to work with students day in and day out. And it really was an eye opener for me. I have a master's in higher education administration. We studied the inner workings of universities, studied students and the challenges that they have, but I was not really prepared for the level of issues that students were experiencing, from the transition after they get into the university, transitioning to college, the homesickness, and especially for students who are international. I can't even imagine, I live in the States. I was often homesick. My parents live a couple of states away, missing their food, missing people who know who I am, and, all of that. You think about our international students that come to the States, and it can be a really big, culture shock. And there's a lot of added pressures that they have, because tuition is much more expensive oftentimes for international students. And so listening to students talking and hearing that there were so many consistent issues and concerns, I really felt a need to address those concerns and help students and families be proactive. Because much of the conversation that I had with students, I felt that someone should have had these conversations with them before they got to college. It's not just about, these are the classes that you need to take to impress the admissions office. These are the activities and the essay and all those things that are very essential and important to the admissions process. But college is not just about getting in, it's about graduating. And I feel that we can help more students graduate and realize the dreams and the goals that they have if we better prepare them for the realities of the college experience. No one talks about what it's like to be put in a roommate situation and your roommate doesn't get along with you. They don't like you. You're from a different country. Your foods are different. You speak in a different language and they make assumptions about you, about who you are. And so I had time to talk to students, and it really hurt my heart for our domestic and international students. Just these things that I feel if someone had told them and they had a strategy of how to react to maybe the conversations, how to react to some of the thoughts that they had going on in their own mind about whether they were supposed to be there or not, that they would have been better prepared. And so that's what I do. I try to coach students about, these are the things that's going to happen. These are the things you can anticipate. This is how, let's talk and strategize. I don't give them all the answers. I just say, these are some typical, situations that'll happen around the time in August, September, October, November, going into the academic year. And how will you deal with that? What are you going to do? Because what typically happens, students think they're all alone. They're the only ones going through that. And it makes them, not reach out for the support. And so if they know these things are common and it happens to many more students than themselves, then they're able to, not think it's just them and isolate themselves and, all the different things that kind of come along with that.
That's really inspiring, Carol. And also, yes, we all can agree to the issues that students are facing. These are some of the issues students commonly face when they have to travel to a new country, start their life, start their college life in a completely unknown country. So these are a lot of issues. There are a lot of issues that students face, and yes, it's really good to know that you're addressing these issues and helping the students out. Okay, moving on to the next
Thank you.
question. That is, uh, it's important to close the gap between planning for college stress and preparing for college success. Could you tell us how exactly you prepare the students for the transition to college, and what is a good strategy for making a successful transition to college?
So the analogy that I have is when you're learning how to ride a bicycle, when you're learning how to drive a car, you've had some practice, right? You had some time to fall and get up and, cry or, scare the people in the car as you're learning how to drive. And as time goes on, you gain that confidence. You feel much more assured in what you're doing, right? With college, the transition just happens so fast, right? Our universities have amazing orientation programs to help students transition. My last institution had some time for students who were international to actually come to campus beforehand to get over the jet lag and just kind of get into the campus life. But still, that's only a short span of time. And so I think, again, sort of having a longer leeway, right? I just learned the other day that a plane takes up about 40% of the fuel just in takeoff. Just in takeoff. So we need to have like a lot of fuel in us to have a successful launch, a successful takeoff into college life. And so again, I try to back it up, and not just, once students get in, it's like, okay, good luck, have fun. The university will take care of you. Fill that gap and help students to plan for that transition so that it's going to be successful for them.
Superb. Moving on to the third question, and this is one of the most important thing we have to cover. What do you feel are some of the most important factors both the students and the parents should be aware of, other than the ranking of the college, fee structure, courses offered, scholarships, when applying to these colleges abroad?
Yeah, I think a lot of those things are very external, right? We have these lists that are out there and they're ranking these institutions on, the location, the alumni giving, the number of students that get in, the graduation rates. But what about, how do you put yourself into those situations, right? There are like 4,000 universities in the US, and they're all very different. And helping students to understand that an external list is nice, but come up with your own list, your own ranking of what you feel you value most, right? And what's important to you. So looking at it more from an internal, what are you hoping to gain? And also knowing that, I know a lot of international students, and domestic students, they're drawn to universities by the name of the institution. And they think if I go to this school, I'm going to be successful. And that's not the case. You know, um, everyone has an opportunity to be successful no matter where they are, especially if they're taking full advantage of the resources available. It's not about the university. It's about what you do when you get there. So what institutions can you look at that's going to help you achieve the goals that you're aiming for? Just because a university has a very prestigious name doesn't mean that that university is going to help you achieve the goal that you want. And you have to look at that and also know that research that has been done from employers, Gallup, the organization that does polling globally, did a poll of employers, and they said, what do you value most, the prestige of where the student went to school, or what they learned when they got there, the experience? And they said by far the experience that the student has was much more important to them than where the student went to school. And a lot of students get confused by that. I had a student who went to a very prestigious institution and thought because they went to that school that all the institutions or all the jobs are going to be knocking at their door. Oh, you graduated from this school, let me give you this job opportunity. And they were very surprised that that did not happen. So the name is good, but what's more important is what did you do at that institution? Did you have internships? Were you involved in campus? Did you do research? Those things are important.
That was a very valuable insight, Carol, to have a. I like the part where you said that we have to have a list, not only including the external factors, but also including what you value the most in life. And yes, experience really matters when you get into a college. It's not just the name. I have even had instances where students of my, like, people say that they look at the campus and they're fascinated seeing the campus area and the college, the facilities, and they just take it up, or they look at the ranking of the college. But you have to take all the factors into consideration when applying.
All
I
the
completely agree.
factors. I mean, let's just be serious. There's some place in the States that are cold, miserably cold. I'm in Indiana and it's so cold in the wintertime. Do you want to be in a place that's very cold? Is that okay with you? Because that impacts your mood. How far away do you want to be from a university that has an airport? Because you're going to want to travel quickly, if you need to get home. Are there places in the area that have your home foods? Because man, I love food and it makes me feel good. It makes me feel connected. If I'm not near my family, at least I can have a place where I can go and buy the ingredients of the food that my mom cooks, and I can smell the odors and feel, I'm at home. I feel like I'm in my mom's kitchen. Those things, you don't think about it, but they do make a difference, and they do help your overall well-being, and those things should be taken into consideration. We don't factor it in. We don't think that it's that important, but once you get into it and you've already looked at the campus and the grounds are very beautiful, okay, now what? Now I have to walk through this campus, now I have to engage with these individuals. And if you don't like the people, if you don't like the culture, if you don't like the customs, those are things that you have to factor in. Being open-minded, absolutely, absolutely, that's important. But just kind of be thoughtful about the entire experience.
Great. We can completely relate to this, Carol. Yes. And yeah, moving on to our next question, that is, would being part of an activity or group at the college help students in socializing better, or what helps them in socializing with the students?
Absolutely, and I think we discount this piece. we discount how important it is to get involved on the campus that you are enrolled in as a student. Um, it makes you feel parts of the campus community to be involved. It gives you a stronger sense of belonging when you're involved. And what I encourage all students is to, again, I keep saying this, to take full advantage of the resources. That means that if you're coming here from another country, what typically happens is it's easy to gravitate towards the people who look like you know, who understand where you come from. It's very easy, right? But what would be a challenge and to help you get out of your comfort zone is to go into the organizations with people who don't look like you, who don't talk like you, where there's a mutual respect and understanding that can be gained, so that when you leave the institution, you can say, I have friends who, you know, live in New York. I have friends who live in Chicago, you know, and for our domestic students as well, they need to be challenged to interact and engage with our international students so that their experience, because the whole point is, you know, for many of these institutions that have a very strong international population and a domestic population, having them come together so that the minds can work together and to see the different perspectives. We're a very globalized world right now. How much better is it for us to engage with people who are from other parts of the world so we can understand the impact that this decision may have? Thinking about the field that you're going into, what impact will it have on people who live in different parts of the world? How will they perceive these actions, these decisions, these policies? And college is an amazing training ground for that. And you can do that in the classroom, but really having an opportunity to do that within student organizations or within even the community to really enrich a student's experience. So I encourage students to get on the campus, not just focus on the academics, but to focus on the socialization piece, because it will enhance your experience so much.
Great, Carol. Adding on to that question, we have often heard this phrase, that is, work hard in college, since you have spent a lot to get in there, to get into that college, to get into that country. So, what do you feel is focusing just on the academics and percentages going to help the students? What are the other factors that students have to really focus on to gain experience and to connect, network? What do they have to do?
Find balance. Balance is very important. Okay. I know that there are a lot of pressures to excel academically. I know that many of the students who come from overseas to the States are the best and the brightest of their country. And so there is this expectation that they're going to excel academically. But there needs to be a balance, because sometimes that sheer focus on the academics can take a toll on your mental health. And I'm a mental health advocate, and I want people to understand that, you know, you need to have balance, you need to set boundaries, you need to practice self-care, you know, taking time to relax and to get involved in fun activities, whether it's soccer or badminton or cricket or whatever, you know, the sport is. Getting involved in those things, it makes you have a different a place to to put your energy, and it not be just solely on the academic piece, because that can really overwhelm you as a student. You feel the pressure, and then the pressure, oftentimes, if you aren't eating well, if you decide not to, you want to stay up all night and pull all-nighters consistently, that begins to take a toll on your body. And so it's very important to have that balance, to find outlets that are not just academic. And I know for parents, they think, oh, you have to study, 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 study. But studies have shown that students who have that well-rounded, you know, who are both excelling academically and socially on the campus, they do well. Their GPA actually increases because they have to learn how to balance their time, and they have to, you know, they're getting engaged, and they're being involved, and they're connecting with people, and it just makes for a more well-rounded student and a more well-rounded student experience. So definitely getting involved and having balance is very essential to student success, in my opinion, and research as well.
Yes, Carol. We talked about students getting into activities, into clubs or organization, helping them. Now let's talk about connections or networking with people. How exactly can students make connections with the alumni or other students from their college or university before the beginning of their courses? And how can networking help the students?
Oh, wow. Networking is so important. They say your network is equivalent to your net worth. you know, and they even say sometimes it's not what you know, it's who you know. Networking is very important. And what I would encourage students to do is see if there are any alumni networks in your country, in your city, your town, province, and see if there are individuals who you can connect with. If you have an institution that you have in mind, or especially after you get accepted, many institutions will have like welcome events for students, and getting involved and getting connected with those alumni is something I definitely encourage. You can contact the Alumni Association. Most times there's information on the university's website. You can put a question into LinkedIn and say, is there anyone who is from here and went to this school? People, if they love their institution, will be very excited to talk to upcoming students. That is what I have found to be very consistent over my time in higher education. If there's someone who went to an institution and they loved it, they want to tell everybody about how much they love their college and how much they should go and love it too. And that network of having someone tell you about what campus life is, what their experience was. And it's even better if you can connect with somebody who is in your major, or the major that you think you're going to have in the career path, so that they can give you some tips and strategies of what to do, what was beneficial, what they wish they had done. So definitely connecting with alumni, and even sometimes even if they didn't go to the particular institution that you're thinking about, most individuals are very generous. So I give advice to students, about colleges that I haven't gone to. My goal is that if college is the path that you want to take, then I'm going to see what I can do to help you. So even, talking to someone and tapping into their network. So that's why networks are so good, because not only do you know that one person, you know all of who they are connected to and all who those people are connected to. And it just really makes you feel like you're not alone in this journey. The college journey is very long. It can be very stressful. It's a lot of fun, but you have to remember that you can't do it alone. And having a connection with an alumni, someone who is willing to talk to you and guide you as a mentor, can really ease the transition and the experience as well.
Absolutely, Carol. Okay. Uh, Thanks for sharing some of the sources that students can uh, take up, like LinkedIn and student associations, to connect with the alumni, to connect with students. Yes. Now moving on to the next question, that is how. What are some of the challenges students can face due to the sudden transition to college, and how can this be overcome?
So one of the biggest transitions, and again, and please keep in mind that most of the institutions that I worked at attracted very high achieving students. These are students who are very used to making all A's, throughout from kindergarten all the way to graduating from high school. And so I think one of the biggest transitions is just the academic transition, in terms of the workload is very different from what many students are used to. And the importance of staying on top of academics, the importance of the time management, establishing very healthy habits of success. Those things are very, very important, because when it doesn't happen, as you get into the semester, it just becomes harder and harder to turn things around. And so I spent a lot of my time talking to students who they felt, wow, no one told me that I knew college was going to be hard, but I didn't expect it to be this hard, because you have to also think about the fact that there's a lot of freedom that comes with being in college. For so many of us, our parents were very strict, right? You couldn't do certain things, you couldn't go certain places. Everyone was watching you and you had to behave, right? When you're away at college, especially if you're away out the country, There's a lot of temptations to maybe lose your focus a little bit. So you have to remember, to keep with the values that you have, to remember academics is very important, but also having that balance, but also to remember that you are not your grades. You are not your grades. If you fail, that does not mean that you're a failure. That's one thing I want to instill in students, because that was a lot of the conversation I had with students. Once they were no longer earning all A's, all high marks, and they start to, whether it's just the ways that the professor teaches was very different from what they were used to, all of these factors, it really impacted the students in a way that was difficult to sort of get that engine moving again. And so it's really important to sort of remember to have the balance, to give yourself grace, to seek out resources. They're tutoring on campus. And if you're doing well, if you're doing exceptionally well and things are moving very smoothly for you, to be able to be a resource to your peers. Because even though administrators, faculty, and staff, they work to help and support students and say, come to my office or come to this department and use this resource. A lot of times the students won't do that. And it often takes another student seeing that a student needs some help and having them talk to them and encourage them, hey, maybe I can help you, understand that engineering, homework, or let me help you with that communications assignment. So sometimes it may take a peer that isn't having any of the transition issues, who's been able to navigate it very well and very successfully, to help their peers who may be struggling. And to be a leader without having a position, you can be a leader and help another student in their academic success.
Great. It's all about finding the right balance and also staying focused. Moving on to our last question, Carol. This is the least talked about topic when we discuss about admissions and when we talk about moving out to different countries and applying to colleges. But we feel it's equally important to talk about it. That is money management. How can students get their finances in order?
Well, I know that finances are very important. And it's really important for students to understand the importance of balancing their budget. One thing that I noticed with international students in my institution is the tendency to spend on very expensive items, and it can't go back with the students. And so a lot of very expensive items get left here in the States. It does benefit other people, but being mindful of what you're spending, how you're spending, budgeting for the entire year. And one important conversation that's part of this is knowing that there may be a lot of pressure on students because their families are sacrificing so much to pay for their school fees. And knowing that pressure may make them feel that they can't be at school wasting their parents' money and their time. But at the same time, you have to be open and honest with your parents if things are not going well. And why I say this is because there have been times too often where students are not very honest with their parents about how well they're doing in school academically. And so how this may translate is students spending more money at the institution, or parents spending more money at this institution than they anticipate. And so being open and honest with the parents about how they're spending the money, how are things going academically, the sacrifice, the burden may be very strong. So being open and honest with them when things are not what their parents expect is very important. So the budgeting is very important, but also just kind of looking at being open and honest with your parents, especially if they're paying their very expensive fees, on how you're spending their money, for the parents to also know that it feels like a burden. This is what I heard from students. It feels like a burden to not squander that money. And if the student isn't making all A's, 4.0, the student may feel like a failure. So I kind of talking around, the bush, because there's a lot to the intimate conversations I had with students, and it's an important part of the question that you asked me. So budgeting, yes. And understanding that, yes, college is expensive. Yes, there are some expectations about the performance, but open communication, and having a student understand, again, kind of going back to the other question, answer about you are not your grades, all of those pieces in my mind all go together. Hope that wasn't a rambling question answer.
Yes. No, that was a very important point to Car, and it was a great suggestion that you have to be open in communication, especially you are staying very far from your parents, and parents have to really know, they have to be aware of what's happening, how is your academics, so that it's going to help them and it's going to help you also in figuring out and then structuring your studies and academics really well. With that, we come to the end of the session, Carol. Thank you so much for joining us. Any final
Thank you
piece
for
of
having me.
Yes, it was a pleasure. And any final piece of advice or comments for all the students and all the educators, counselors, everyone who is watching this video?
Well, I'm just excited. I think college is one of the best times. We say that, but I do believe it. I do believe it. And the span of time that students are in college is a very unique time to be around very like-minded individuals who are striving for what they want to do in life. And the opportunities that the universities provide to have students engage on the campus and in the community is so very important. And so I applaud everyone for taking this responsibility and this job very seriously. I encourage students to have a balance of not just focusing on how to get into college, but think about all the different pieces that can help you to be successful, so that you can graduate and be the successful whatever it is you want to be, and however you plan to contribute to this world. And if I can help in any way, please don't hesitate to contact me. You can find me at my website is www.carolbendavies.com. I'm Carol Ben-Davies on all the social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Look me up, LinkedIn as well. Send me a message. I would love to connect with you and help you along your college journey.
Yes, feel free to reach to Carol. She's active on all the social media handles. You can reach out to her on Instagram, on Twitter. Yes, and with that, we come to the end of the session. Before closing, we have a very um, an amazing resource to share with you all. That is a college versus college fair that's happening tomorrow, September 23rd, 24th, and 25th. It's from 6 p.m. onwards, and we have more than 25 colleges and universities from 11 different countries coming up for this fair. And the colleges are going to talk about their application process, about their college student life, about the facilities, and much more. So we hope to see you at the college versus college fair, and also you can register using the link that is provided in the description box below. Thank you so much, Carol, and thanks for that last piece of advice, that beautiful and amazing piece of advice to all the students. And once again, it was really, we feel really honored to have you with us. Hope to have more sessions with you in the future.
Thank you. Thank you. I really appreciate all that you do. Thank you for this interview.
Thank you.